消防员竟然降工资了。
It's unbelievable that firefighters' salaries are being cut. Of all jobs, firefighters should be the last to face a pay cut. I recently spoke to a retired friend who became a full-time firefighter, and he told me his salary was reduced by over 2,000 yuan, almost half his income. He just got married, and now he's worried about providing for his family. Firefighters, whether on the front lines or in monitoring roles, are true heroes, essential in times of peace. Their work is incredibly tough and risky. For anyone who doesn't understand their sacrifices, just watch the movie The Bravest. I guarantee it will bring you to tears. Cutting their salaries just doesn't make sense to me.
In this wave of pay cuts, it's not only firefighters affected. Various public sector workers, including police officers, have also seen reductions. A former soldier, Mr. Hua, mentioned that many of his friends in the armed forces have lost allowances or have gone months without them. A retired officer, Ms. Bai, said that in a coastal city, even police officers are experiencing uniform salary cuts. Earlier this year, Radio Free Asia reported that in cities like Tianjin, Nanjing, and Dalian, police salaries had been cut by around 20%. Public hospitals across China have also seen salary reform announcements. On October 30th, medical staff at Baisha Health Clinic in Zhengzhou, Henan, protested for their pay. They hung banners outside the hospital, demanding that management leave. Likewise, on October 25th, the affiliated hospital of Jiaying University in province declared bankruptcy after staff went unpaid for 10 months. On October 11th, healthcare workers at the Fourth People's Hospital in Xinxiang, Henan, gathered at the entrance with banners reading, "We need to live." Reportedly, their wages have been delayed for 9 months. Even doctors at Beijing Tongren Hospital experienced drastic salary cuts last August, with performance bonuses and night shift pay reduced by 50%. China's television industry is also in turmoil, with closures and shutdowns spreading widely. By the end of 2023, nearly 700 county-level TV stations had stopped broadcasting, and around 2,000 more face similar risks. Recently, reports surfaced that a satellite TV station in a southern province has been paying only 38% of salaries since August, leaving many shocked and worried about the economic downturn. Others commented that if traditional media doesn't innovate, it will inevitably be eliminated. On social media, some users on Xiaohongshu revealed that certain central media outlets have lowered performance pay across the board, and many employees now receive only the minimum wage in Beijing. A well-known traditional media outlet in Hainan is now only paying basic wages, forcing employees to stay at the office, with some even selling their homes to afford rent. One regional TV station's staff gathered at the office entrance to demand unpaid wages. This pay cut trend is affecting even civil servants. Recently, more and more media professionals aged 35 to 45 and under family and financial pressures have considered switching careers. However, without connections, finding new jobs has proven harder than expected. While it's a painful transition, many believe it's better to endure the hardship now than face a worsening situation.
The salary cuts even reach my girlfriend, a teacher in Guilin. She told me that from next month, she won't receive the town allowance anymore, cutting over 2,000 yuan from her monthly pay. Her already modest income will be even lower, seriously affecting her quality of life.
Some people online predict that the layoffs and reductions in pay for all public sector employees will be significant, as some regions have already taken steps in this direction. Apart from the civil servants, the financial sector has also been hit hard. Chinese institutions in Hong Kong have reduced wages, and in some cases even demanded that already issued bonuses be returned.
State-owned enterprises are all cutting salaries now. My uncle has worked at a unit in Wuhan for over 20 years. Last year, he received a bonus of more than 100,000 yuan. But this year, they informed him that they overpaid and demanded he pay it back. When he refused, they simply deducted it from his salary this year, effectively a pay cut.
This situation has left many civil servants and public sector employees feeling financially insecure. Facing continual salary reductions, many are opting for early retirement to lock in their pensions before they decrease further. Lower income groups are making tough choices just to ensure some financial stability. Mr. Chen, an Australian Chinese who grew up in Beijing, returned to China and was struck by the harsh reality of life. He noted that civil servants in Beijing and surrounding areas have faced pay cuts, government wage arrears are common, and families struggle to support college students who graduate only to face unemployment themselves. And the healthcare system is heavily commercialized. Corruption between businesses and officials further fuels public discontentment. The salary cuts have also impacted the education sector. On October 28th, faculty members at the Northeastern University in Shenyang displayed banners demanding the school provide living subsidies. Earlier, teachers from the affiliated middle school of Nanchang Normal University gathered to demand unpaid wages. In 2022, MyCUS Data conducted a survey on teacher satisfaction. It revealed that only 38% of educators were satisfied with their pay, with 32% experiencing dissatisfaction with their current income. According to the data, 54% of teachers earned less than 100,000 yuan per year, with younger teachers earning less and a higher percentage of senior teachers earning above 180,000 yuan annually. Although wages are declining, teaching quality expectations continue to rise. A professor at a prominent university in Jiangsu shared that after the last promotion reform, their year-end salary dropped by 40%, with additional penalties affecting performance pay. However, their teaching load was set to increase exponentially to over 200 teaching hours. Similarly, many researchers in China are now seeing their incentives slashed. Data shows that in developed countries like the United States, researchers' basic salaries constitute the bulk of their income, with performance pay making up just 2 to 10% of the total. In contrast, China's government-funded salaries for research positions are modest, ranging from around $223 to around $954. This has forced universities and research institutions to raise additional funds independently. This burden of raising funds often falls on individual researchers, who must take on numerous projects to support their income. One researcher in Beijing commented, "We're supposed to be focusing on research, but we're essentially fundraising our own salaries, taking on any project we can. It's exhausting." Other staff within universities are also facing delayed wages, underscoring the wide-reaching impact of this financial strain. Recently, an online post revealed that Peking University's library has been delaying employee wages, with payments postponed from the start of the month to the end, and some staff members going unpaid for 3 months. Even employees who resigned 4 months ago haven't received their wages. When asked, the response was that the funds hadn't come from above, leaving many employees to borrow money just to get by. The same post also highlighted severe labor rights violations at the library. Staff reportedly work over 12 hours a day, sometimes reaching 17 hours, with no holidays throughout the year. There's barely any time for breaks, and they face constant unpaid overtime. Additionally, employees suffer workplace bullying and mistreatment, creating a divisive hierarchy among them. This situation has led many to question how such conditions can exist in China, the world's largest socialist nation. Besides clear issues of wage cuts and unpaid wages, local government departments have been finding ways to cut costs in day-to-day operations. In Suzhou, high-speed rail travel for official trips now avoids using government cars or rentals. In Anhui, they've implemented paperless offices and restricted air conditioning to a maximum of 20 degrees centigrade in winter and a maximum of 26 centigrade in summer, with local hospitality now banned. Shanxi has introduced even stricter policies, instructing offices not to renovate unless absolutely necessary, using vehicles older than 8 years if still functional, and imposing strict travel approvals. With China's economic troubles deepening, people are increasingly asking, who is responsible for the current situation? At the beginning of President Xi Jinping's leadership, if people faced hardships, they would often self-reflect, wondering if their skills or efforts were lacking. But as Xi's third term begins, with the economy stagnating and political pressures intensifying, more Chinese citizens are shifting the blame away from themselves. Experts point out that the root of these issues lies in China's strained fiscal revenues and the long-standing imbalance between central and local government finances. According to ING Bank's chief economist for Greater China, Iris Pang, local government finances face significant challenges, primarily due to declining revenue. In the past, local governments relied heavily on land sales, but with the real estate market in a slump, this revenue source has dried up. Statistics show that in the first half of 2024, land sale revenue was 15.3 trillion yuan, a 55.7% drop compared to the same period in 2019. This has left local finances, which were already strained, in an even worse state. Last year, Moody's maintained China's sovereign credit rating at A1, but changed the outlook from stable to negative. The main reasons were the high level of local debt, which limits the government's ability to stimulate the economy, as well as the continued slump in the real estate market. Besides land sales, Pang noted that tax revenue this year, although slightly better than last year, remains below historical averages. Decreased corporate profitability and widespread salary cuts could also impact income tax revenues. Given the revenue pressure and lack of immediate solutions, spending cuts have become the default approach, particularly on what's perceived as wasteful spending. Local governments now frequently express frustration as they receive limited fiscal resources but face numerous responsibilities to fulfill. In light of these economic conditions, some experts have begun analyzing how China might ultimately resolve this fiscal crisis. Former Minister of Finance Luo Jiwei recently wrote that a straightforward solution might be to increase taxes. China's fiscal revenue as a share of GDP was around 28 to 29% in 2018, but with large-scale tax and fee reductions introduced in 2019, this proportion fell to 26% by 2023. This is lower than the roughly 30% in countries of similar income, and far below the 35% plus seen in developed countries. Low suggested that raising fiscal revenue as a percentage of GDP is necessary, and a property tax, being well suited as a local tax, could help transform local government functions effectively. China's economic situation remains challenging, with a sudden slowdown in the second quarter making it difficult to achieve the 5% target growth for the year. Economist Iris Pang points out that fiscal and tax reforms face numerous obstacles, especially in a sluggish economy where introducing new taxes is particularly challenging. However, some commentators argue that the bigger issue is the perceived lack of genuine effort by the Chinese Communist Party, as political instability remains the top priority. For instance, the CCP has resisted consumer subsidies that could stimulate spending, fearing it would encourage welfarism. The Wall Street Journal reports that many economists believe that boosting consumption is essential in China's economic recovery. This would require substantial reforms, such as expanding healthcare and social security. Yet these measures are politically unappealing to the CCP leaders. Party leaders view Western-style welfare as incompatible with their goal of building a technologically advanced China that can rival the U.S. Another example is the CCP's military posture towards Taiwan, where significant funds are allocated to assert its sovereignty claims. Reuters recently reported on Taiwan's defense assessment, estimating that China's military exercises in the Western Pacific cost about $15 billion in 2023, roughly 7% of China's entire defense budget. These figures account for expenses related to naval and air operations in areas like the Bohai Sea, East China Sea, Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, and the Western Pacific. Despite official data suggesting ongoing growth, China's economic momentum has slowed considerably, leaving the middle class doubtful about continued upward mobility or improving living standards for future generations. Taiwanese economist Wu Jialong has publicly stated that the CCP's fundamental challenge is choosing between economic growth and political control. Unlike Western countries, China struggles to foster economic development within an open political system, as its government is built on consolidating power rather than stimulating growth. Wu argues that the CCP's governance model is more focused on rent-seeking than economic expansion, akin to a mafia boss extracting protection fees. Researcher Wang Guocheng of the Chinese Economic Research Institute added that China's current economic decline could only be reversed by a change in government. While the country itself could persist, the CCP would need to be replaced to see any genuine economic recovery. He predicts the economy will continue its downward spiral until a regime change occurs. Facing an uncertain future, many Chinese are already planning their exit. A man named Chiang told Voice of America that he intends to save money and find an opportunity to settle abroad, as he believes the domestic environment is inhospitable, especially for the younger generation. A senior journalist echoed these sentiments, explaining that he is exploring relocation options, hoping to escape what he describes as an impenetrable political barrier that stifles personal effort.